ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. See, in the earlier video, I have discussed about what is Upanishad. And as already shared, Upanishads are the outpourings of individual realized beings to the disciples. They are outpourings of the masters to the disciples. And there are 4 steps to be understood in a mystery school. Now let us examine what are these 4 steps in a mystery school. The first stage is a student. It is like this. A man, out of curiosity, he approaches a master. He approaches a master, but he never reaches a master, and he reaches only a teacher in the master. He wants to clarify all his doubts, and he has got so many intellectual questions. The questions are of intellectual nature, but the questions are not existential. He approaches the master to gain some additional knowledge. So, in that state, he collects some words, some theories, some philosophies as a student and becomes knowledgeable. Naturally, the student is knowledgeable. So, in the process, as he approached the master out of curiosity and tries to learn some things which are there in his mind, so he collects that knowledge and he may become a scholar or pandit. And he never reaches, or he never outgrows from that studentship, unless he has got that immense quest to know more about the divinity. So, the next step, when he has got that curiosity and quest for divinity, then he starts observing the master. He starts looking at his eyes and the way he speaks and the pauses he makes between the sentences. He observes the master and then he comes to know that the master is not only a teacher, but there is invisible and hidden divine potential in him. When he comes to know about this, he develops a kind of love towards the master, and that is the stage he leaves from the cocoon of studentship and becomes a disciple. As a student, he may collect the words, theories, philosophies, as already mentioned earlier, and he may go from one master to the other collecting knowledge. But when once he becomes a disciple, then his wandering stops. He knows the master is all powerful and all that. Then his disciplehood starts. The word Gurukul is a very significant word. It is, the meaning of the Gurukul is the family of the master. So, in the family of the master, the disciples starts they not only learning, but they come to know how to be as a human being and how to start the journey towards the Almighty. So, master also tries to give not knowledge but love besides the knowledge of the unknown. The master, the task of the master in his disciplehood, what he has learned from his master, he teaches and he makes his disciples to become light to themselves, to become a personification of love. So, in the presence of the master, in the feeling of the love of the master, something gets transformed in the disciple even without his knowing. Simply in the presence of the master, he enjoys, he gets transformed. In fact, he is reborn. So, only the person who wants to get transformed and to be reborn only becomes a disciple. So, from disciplehood, he becomes a devotee. At what point a disciple becomes a devotee? Let us examine. A disciple is so grateful, immensely grateful to the master, and because of the outpourings of the master and because of the love showered by the master, something happens in the disciple, something transforms in his being, and the disciple, with full of gratitude, he bows down his head and places it at the feet of the master, because disciple cannot give anything back to the master out of his gratitude except giving himself. So he is placing his head at the feet of the master is a symbol of his reverence and gratefulness to the master. So when he becomes a disciple and when he is filled with immense gratitude, then a devotee is born in him. The disciple becomes a devotee of the Almighty and the Master. So, a devotion. In devotion, he sees only the manifestation of the divinity everywhere and in everyone. This he is able to experience. The disciple is able to experience the divine truths or the existential truths told by the master in his outpourings. Then when he is able to see the manifestation of that merciful divinity, then he becomes a devotee. So, his transformation from a student to disciplehood, from disciplehood to the devotee, You see, the devotees, whom we see in all the religious places, and whatever the devotion imposed on us in respective atmospheres, makes us empty, makes us feeble, makes us fearful, because the devotion imposed and imbibed by the devotees do not have sufficient and proper roots of studentship and disciplehood. So, in university education, it ends with becoming only a student. He leaves the university as a student, having learned, having acquired so much knowledge, vast knowledge, but he doesn't have any experience. So, devotion, the real devotion means, as a disciple, he has the experience of divine truth, the existential truth is experienced. Then he is a real devotee who has that experience. So, he knows by himself. The master makes him to experience and to know himself. And then the final stage is, as the disciple comes to know the mysteries of the existence and the miraculous existence, he becomes a master himself. So, he comes to know, the devotee comes to know the miraculous within and outside also. So, he sees only the divine within and without. Like Prahlada, he could perceive that divinity, that Lord, that merciful Lord everywhere and in everything. Then he becomes a master with his divine experiences. So, such is the relationship between a lovable master, a realized being, and his disciples. The master doesn't have any interest but to make the disciple to become a light to himself, which leads to the unknown mysteries and love of the Creator and Lord. See, there is a beautiful and interesting thing happened in one of the Sufi saint's life. Renaji is a very famous and reputed Sufi saint. He was with his master, in the presence of the master, for 20 years. One day, Renaji, the saint, has occupied the seat of the master in his hermitage. So all the other disciples gathered, wondered at this happening. So the master of Renaji has also come at that point. He has seen his disciple Renaji, who has occupied his seat. Seeing this, the master went where the Renaji, the disciple, used to sit normally among the disciples, other disciples. So Renaji wondered at the master, because the master has not said anything and just smiled. So he asked his master, by occupying this, did I offend you? And then his master, Renaji's master, replied, my dear, I have been waiting for 3 months. You are very lazy. You are not courageous enough to occupy that seat. You have been thinking for the past 3 months to do this act. Because you are lazy, you have taken the jump today, and I am very happy that somebody who is having that divine aura and who can spread the fragrance of mine, my inner being, is there to share my work in the world. I am very happy. I thank God immensely. Then Renaji is amazed at the words of the master. Renaji said to the master, how come you know that I have been thinking for the past 3 months to occupy this seat? I am amazed. I am really could not understand the love of my master. That's what Renaji told him. Here, the point is, becoming a master is not the goal of any disciple, or neither he is elated at this juncture. All people, curious people, because of their past connectivity, inner connectivity to that all-pervading divinity at some point or other approaches a master and sees in the master only a teacher. And later on, when they are ripe, they travel to the realms of disciplehood, and from there they become devotees. So it is only the grace of the Lord whom He chooses to become a guide to others, to draw the thirsty souls to that merciful Lord. He only chooses. So, in fact, that divine experiences, sharing of the divine experiences is a joy for the master. He becomes immensely grateful to the Lord for all the gifts being showered at every moment of life, and he dwells in that eternal bliss. So that is the realization of a true disciple and the effect of the outpourings of a realized master. So, thank you.